everyone, today I am going to tell you how to get a perfect credit score. This is so important because your credit score actually impacts so many areas of your life, and not having a good credit score can end up costing you so much money. Hey everyone, this is Lauren Mack with Hacking the Rat Race, and I would love for you to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any more content on money, savings, and investing. Today I'm going to show you how to get a perfect credit score. And if you're like me a long time ago, I had no idea how credit scores worked. I felt like it was this huge mystery, but it does impact so many areas of your life. I mean, not just getting credit and your interest rates, but getting utilities, getting a cell phone, signing up with a new cell phone carrier. If you don't have good or great credit, this can end up costing you so much more money. So today I'm going to break down the different areas and what you need to do to get a perfect credit score. So the first thing I would like to discuss is the credit score range. So the credit score range is anywhere from 300 being the worst to 850 being the best. And it goes anywhere from the worst to bad to good to very good to excellent. And each one of those brackets can make a huge difference on how much money you have to spend. And the way that your credit score is rated, which is your Fico score, is broken down into 5 main categories, which I will get to in a second. But the first thing I want to tell you are the 3 reporting agencies. You have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They do not talk to one another. They are not together. They are 3 separate entities, and people may report to one and not the other. So for example, maybe you miss a credit card payment. Maybe that company only reports to TransUnion. And the way you can see this is when you pull your credit report and you pull your Fico score, for one, you may have maybe like a 650, one a 720, and maybe the other one a 690. Well, that's because everyone doesn't always report to the same one. Okay, so I just want to get that out of the way so everyone kind of is on the same page as far as how the reporting works. So the first part of your credit score is your payment history. This makes up 35%. This is the largest one, and this is so important because it's just showing that you can make payments on time. So how often are you missing payments? How recent was it? Did you miss a payment 5 years ago or yesterday? And a late payment for credit history is generally over 30 days. So if your payment was due on the 1st and you paid on the 15th, maybe it's considered late and you might have to pay late charges, say to your credit card company or your mortgage, whatever, but that isn't necessarily considered late for credit reporting. It's over 30 days. So once you're 30 days late, then generally that's when it would be reported to a credit bureau. And again, maybe some places do report, some people don't report. Some places don't report good activity, they only report bad activity. So again, it just depends on the company and who they are reporting to, but post 30 days is normally when it gets reported. Then recency would just be, was this late payment 5 years ago or was it yesterday? And severity is going to be, is it, one time you were late by 5 days or were you late by 5 months? Were you often late by 5 months on different cards and different credit lines? So all those things weigh into this, but having a good payment history, just making your payments on time, literally makes up 35%. So that's a huge chunk. So the first thing you can do, if you're not already, get your payments on time and just make sure you're keeping your payments on time. So the next section is credit utilization, and this makes up 30%. This is how much of your credit you're using, and this section is only based on revolving credit. So revolving credit is like your credit cards. It is not for installments such as, say, student loans, a mortgage, something like that, a car payment. It is revolving credit, so it can be changing over time versus being kind of the same installment month over month. So for your revolving credit utilization is what percentage of it are you using? So let's just say you had one credit card and it had a $10,000 balance, right? And let's just say you have $4,000 on that credit card. Then you have a 40% utilization. So the rule of thumb is you want to be below 30%. So that would be, in the case of a $10,000 credit limit, you want to be below $3,000, right? So maybe you have 4 credit cards and they each have a $2,500 limit. Again, your total credit is $10,000. You still want to stay below 30%. And some would even suggest below 6%, which I know is harder, but here's the thing. In addition to just staying below, let's just go with 30%, you probably also want to stay below 30% per card, right? So in the case where you had 4 cards, at $2,500, that equals $10,000. So if you had one of those maxed out and the other one you had $500, well, overall, you're still at the credit utilization of 30%. However, they also look at credit utilization on a card-by-card basis too. It's kind of a mix. So it would be better to have a little bit on all of those cards versus having one of them maxed out, because on that first card, you were at 100% credit utilization. That just indicates higher risk that you're unable to manage credit properly. So again, if you make your payments on time and you have good credit utilization, meaning that you're not maxing out your cards, you're keeping them low, below 30%, maybe even below 10%, that shows that you're able to manage credit well. So that makes up right there 65% of your credit score. I mean, that's a huge bucket just by these two things, keeping your utilization low and keeping your payments on time. So the next one is length of credit history, and that one is 15%. So the way that length of credit history works is just looking at how long you've had credit. So this is why if you're brand new, say you're 18, 19, you're building up your credit, it can have a little bit of an impact because you don't have that history. You haven't shown lenders that you can manage credit responsibly for a long period of time. However, again, if you're making your payments on time and your utilization is good, that's the bulk, so you can still build it up, and then over time, your length of credit will grow. Here's one thing to note with length of credit. So maybe you've had a credit card for 15 years. If you go get 5 new credit cards right now, and that'll be put into the average, therefore it could take the length of your credit history down. But as you build your credit history over time, if you're making your payments, utilization's great, and you have a long credit history, that is really good, and that's gonna help boost you to the perfect credit score. The next section is new credit, and this makes up 10%. And some people maybe who have bad credit think, ooh, I can really jump up in this category if I go get a bunch of new credit. However, if you just go into a frenzy and start just like getting a new card and then a new card and then a new card like right away, it looks like maybe you're having financial trouble. And also every time you apply for a card, a loan, or something like that, they check your credit, which is a hit on your credit. And if you have a bunch of these, it's okay if you have 1 or 2 if you're gonna say buy a house, or even if you're applying for 1 or 2 credit cards, that's generally okay. But if suddenly you just have, like, you're just applying for all kinds of credit, you get a new car, you go and try to get approval at 3 different banks for a house loan, and you're applying for 5 different credit cards, that's all new credit, but it also signals like what is going on. So you should have new credit, because if you only have, say for your credit, 1 credit card, and you got it 20 years ago, well, that doesn't show necessarily how great you're doing with credit now. So you do need to get new credit. That really helps with that 10%, but you just don't want to go crazy all at once. You kind of want to just do it over time. So 10%, it is a smaller portion, but still if you're getting new credit here and there, then that is still a good way to keep your credit score up. And the final section of your credit score is going to be credit mix. This is going to be the types of credit that you have, right? So if you only have a credit card, then your credit mix isn't going to be strong, because lenders want to see that you can manage credit in all different areas. So credit mix would be, say, having a mortgage, having a car payment, having, revolving credit that's underutilization, that you're making all your payments on time. The more types of credit you have, the better it's going to be for your credit score. And it's also going to be better when you're applying for different types of credit, right? Because if you're applying for a mortgage, for example, that is a large sum of money over a long period of time. They're going to be looking at different indicators than maybe a car loan, which can be a decent sized loan, but generally it's going to be over a way shorter period of time, so the risk is going to be less. But if you've had auto loans, you've paid them successfully and even paid cars off, that's going to make you be a stronger candidate, say, for future auto loans. Or maybe a mortgage. For example, so you've had several mortgages in the past, you've always had good payment history, history, you've always had them paid off, or if you still have them going and you still have good payment history, then again, it just depends on what kind of credit you're applying for, kind of the mix of what they're going to look at. But I would definitely recommend having a good mix of credit. So just briefly, I'm going to recap. The first one is your payment history, 35%. That's just basically making your payments on time. The second one is credit utilization, and that's how much of your credit you're actually using that they've given you on revolving credit lines. The third one is your length of credit, so how long you've had your credit history. The fourth one is new credit, and that one is 10%. That's just showing that over time you've had new credit. And number 5 is your credit mix, also 10%, and that's just showing that you've been responsible with multiple types of credit. I hope this can help you build the perfect credit score, because here's the thing, if your credit score is low, it can end up costing you so much money with interest rates, connection fees, even getting jobs. There's so many jobs today that pull your credit history when you're trying to apply for a job. And I feel like everyone needs to know how it works because it can have such a huge impact on your life. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your biggest takeaway? Was there anything I mentioned today that maybe the percentages or the different buckets that you weren't familiar with? And I would love, love, love for you to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos on money, saving, and investing. And also, if you have any questions or any content that you would like me to cover, please leave that in the comments below too, because I want to make videos that help you. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.